Hey guys, in this video I'm going to teach you 4 ways to make your power chords sound better, more killer, and just have more edge. But first, let's make some coffee. That's not coffee. Now, what you're going to learn is going to sound something like this. Alright guys, we're going to dive right into this killer power chord lesson. Also, after the lesson, make sure you hang around because I'm actually going to share some details about the tones and sounds and what I use for the full mix that you just heard. So there's 5 chords in this progression. Ouch, looks like I chopped my finger off. That did not happen. I'm just holding my pick. Anyways, there's 5 chords in this progression, but we're really going to focus on those first 3 power chords because those are the chords where we're going to move our fingers around a little bit to get those really killer and wicked and cool and killer and whatever other cool word we can think of that describes these sounds that we're about to make. I'm being cheesy. I'm going to play it through here and then we'll break down those chords and where we're putting our fingers on the fretboard here. I'll show you all that with the tabs and let's dig in. Let's learn. All right, so let's back up here for a minute. I don't want you to focus on the alternate picking that I'm doing. That's really not part of this lesson. Really, I want to just show you where to put your fingers to get those cool sounding sounds. So instead, we're gonna just play it like this. That's going to be our focus. And then if you want to alternate pick and palm mute like I was doing, definitely do that. But let's learn the notes first. So breaking down the E power chord, we're on the A and D string, and we're going to be on, I'm just calling out the frets, we're going to be on 7 and 9. So this right here. That's your standard E power chord, but we're not starting there, okay? So that 7th fret on the A string is the same, but we're actually going to start on the 10th fret on the D string. So go ahead and put your hand in that position so you're getting this sound. Now we could just stop the lesson right there because that sounds cool. Alright, so start out with that. Then just move that finger up on the A string to what would be the normal power chord, which is going to be that 9th fret. So we're back at 7 and 9. So 7, 10, then 7, 9. 7, 10. Those are the frets. 7, 9. All right, now the next part of this, we're going to go to 7, 7. And how we do that, we just bar those 2 strings with your first finger here, your pointer finger. You see my point? Now this next part's going to be a little tricky because our first finger has been in the same position this entire time. Pretty simple, right? But now we're going to be playing 7, 5. So that means, we're going to have to switch our fingers around a little bit. And what I do is I switch from my first finger to my 3rd finger. So hard to hold that up. And that's going to be on the 7th fret. So when we get here, I quickly do a switch, pulling this finger over here, my 3rd finger, to that fret. So that frees up my first finger to go over to the 5th fret next string. Now that's a cool sound too. And then I go back to 7, 7, from 7, 5 to 7, 7. But this time I play the 7, 7 a little differently. Instead of barring it like we do the first time around, since we're in this position here on 7, 5, I just use my pinky finger to go to 7, 7. So like this. So just go through that entire chord just like this. And that's pretty much it. Just kind of practice that, get that down. And I would say even, pause the video right now and just practice that before you go on to the next chord, which is going to be D. All right, now we're going to slide up to the D power chord, and it's going to sound like this. And we're literally going to slide because we're going to do this. Now, this one does get a little more tricky because you saw in those last few little notes, we kind of move the fingers around quite a bit, but I'm going to help you with that. So we're going to start this one out with just a regular D power chord. Again, A and D string, our frets are 5 and 7. Now, this part's real easy because all we're going to do is go from 5-7 to 5-5, and I'm going to show you a little trick here. What I do when I know I have to bar 2 notes, which is what we're doing. Remember on the E, we did the same thing. We used that first finger to bar those notes. They were on the same fret. So we're doing the same thing here on the 5th fret, so 5 and 5. When I know I'm going to be barring 2 notes across the frets like that, I already get my fingers in that, or the one finger in that position before I even play the chord, regardless of what's coming before that. So in this case, I've already got these notes barred. So when we play the D power chord, all you've got to do is just lift that one finger up. You're already in that position. So you're preparing, and hey, that's what life is all about. You've got to prepare for it, right? This is a cool life lesson. That was cheesy. All right, anyway, so the next chord, that was the easy part. The next chord we're going to play, well, same chord, but the next version of the D chord we're going to play is going to be this. Now, we're still starting the chord on the 5th fret, but, since we're playing a note that's kind of behind that further, down the neck here, or up the neck, I always get that confused, that way, I switch it around, so I'm using my middle finger for that 5th fret, and then the next string over, I'm using my first finger for the 4th, so it's like this. So get used to that change. We're halfway there, kind of like that Bon Jovi song. All right, now we're gonna have to do another little switcheroo here because the next version of the chord we're gonna play is gonna sound like this. Now that's quite a stretch. So our frets, again, still 5. That's our root note. We always stay on that. It's gonna be 5 and 2. So we're like here and then way up here or down here. Again, I always get that confused. Anyway, 5 and 2. So I use my pinky finger for that 5th fret and then my first finger for that 2nd fret on the next string. Sounds like this. Now the last part, this is pretty simple because we're just going to go from 2 to 4 on the A string. And I just use my 3rd finger for that. So let's play through this, guys. Let's do this together like a family. We're a metal family. Now, if you need to pause the video right now and go through this, because this is probably the most difficult of the chords, because there's just a lot of moving around of the fingers here. So if you need to pause the video and just practice, please do that. I'll throw the tabs up so when you pause it, you can just look at the tabs and just practice this, okay? And then we'll move on to the C chord. All right, guys, now for the C chord. I had a 4th grade teacher. Her name was Mrs. C Chord, and that's where I made my first F. It's really not that funny. Anyway, here's what the C chord sounds like. So we're starting out with just a regular C chord, the A and D string, frets 3 and 5. Now, we're not going to be barring any notes like we did on the E and the D. Instead, we're going to be hitting that next fret, which is going to be your 4th fret. So you go from 3, 5 to 3, 4. Now, here's where we switch the fingers around again a little bit. So I'm going to use my, my middle finger. I'm not going to flip you guys off because that's just rude. Using my middle finger here for the 3rd fret, and I'm going to use my 1st finger for the 2nd fret next string. So after that, this is the really, really simple part. I just lift that 2nd fret, that finger on that 2nd fret, up to the open string, the open A string. So and then just bring it back down. So here's the C all the way through. You can see all the way through. Now again, like the other 2 chords, if you need to pause the video and just get this down and practice it, please do that, and then go to the next 2 chords, which are going to be like really simple, so that'll be quick. Alright, so the last 2 chords in this progression that you heard in the full mix, this is real simple, guys. I'm just playing a G and a D, but I want to show you how I play these chords. It might be a little bit different than what you're used to. So when I play my G, I actually do the 3rd fret on those last 2 strings, the B and E, and using my last 2 fingers here. I just like how that sounds, so that's just the way I play my G. Now the D, I actually don't start by picking the D string, the open D string. I play that note, of course, but I actually start out by picking that 5th note, which is your open A string. So that's the note I start with, because that just gives you a much more full sound. And that last note, though, the E, I play that open. So it sounds like this. That, to me, sounds much cooler than... because that, it almost sounds too country. Look, there's nothing wrong with country music. I'm just giving you a hard time if you like country music. Anyway, for like metal though, for for the style of music that I teach you guys here on YouTube, and probably the style that you play, that D I just showed you with the open A and then leaving that last E string open, to me it just sounds a lot cooler, a lot more like, I don't know, soul punching. Oh, and one more thing, if you go back and listen to the full mix, and I'll play it again at the end of the video here, I do this really cool, harmonics at the very end. All I'm really doing is just, it's kind of hanging over the 5th fret here with my 3rd finger. And I'm just upstroking. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed that lesson. Now I want to give you some details about the gear I'm using, more so like the amp and the sounds and effects and all that stuff that you heard in the full mix. And I am going to play the full mix for you at the very end of the video. We'll like end the video with that so you can hear it again. But so the tones, where's my coffee? Here it is. My tones I'm using is actually from, and I'll put a screenshot up here, is actually from the British Rock 50 amp, and this is from Positive Grid's Bias FX. Now, there's a little caveat here. I'm actually, and I'll put a screenshot of this up there as well, I'm actually using the Celestian speakers. Okay, so this to me, and I'm not like trying to sell you guys on Positive Grid, there's a lot of good plugins out there. This is just the one I've been using, as you guys know, for a long time, and I've actually recorded you know, several of my albums with their plugins, with their Bias FX and then Bias Amp 2. But I'm using the Celestion speakers, as you can see here, and man, this is like the game changer. I actually have another video on this. There's like a Celestion speaker shootout video. I'll put the link up here so you guys can watch that too. But that's what I'm using, and I'm not really using any super effects or anything like that. I just put a little delay because I like how the delay sounds on like hard rock sounding stuff. You know, when I'm playing metal, like really, you know, hardcore metal, death metal, or whatever, I don't use any delay at all because I feel like that kind of muddies up the tone. We're playing a lot of riffs, you want those to be tight. But again, on stuff like this, you know, what we just played, I like to add just a little bit of delay, not too much, because again, that delay can make your sound muddy. But I just add a little delay to that, just to kind of give it that spacey, you know, hard rock feel, if that makes sense. Now, guitar, you guys have seen this like on most of my videos. This is my ESP LTD M1000 Deluxe, and that's what I use for this video. I have another 6-string guitar. You guys know I have the 7-string as well, but I've got like an Ibanez, and I almost recorded, let me get that so you guys can see it. Now we're really up close and personal. It's behind the camera here. So I've got this Ibanez, and I'm kind of like just going off the beaten path here, guys. I have this Ibanez Prestige. This is an RG 1570. And actually my close friend Tom, I bought it from him a few years back. This guitar kind of stays in our little family circle here, so it is never to leave us. But where's a good place to put this at? Man, I really need some guitar stands. I want to get one of those stands where you hold all your guitars in it. That would just be like simple to have over here. But instead of have one stand and everything else is like just wherever, you know. So anyway, so I liked, my point about that guitar though, I like to record some rock sounding stuff with that guitar as well, because it's got those Ibanez V7 and V8 pickups. Again, I'm going way off the beaten path here because I didn't even use that guitar for this video. Oh, the ESP, my LTD M1000 Deluxe. This has the EMG pickups. I think they're the EMG 8183 or just 83. I don't even know. Man, I need to clean this thing. It's so dusty. Anyway, so that, guys, that's the equipment I used. Recording software, because I did record this in the full mix, you know, or as a full mix rather. So I'm using PreSonus Studio One. I've been using that for a long time now. Oh, I did lay a bass track as well. This is the LTD D5 bass, and pretty much everything you guys have heard on my videos and like my albums, my past 3 albums anyway, this bass was featured on it. It's a big bass. 5-string. So that's pretty much it for the equipment I use for this video. If we want to go a little bit deeper, I'm filming this on my iPhone 7. I'm about to upgrade cameras soon though. You know, I got pro lighting in my studio a while ago, but I am going to upgrade my camera pretty soon. I want to get that I think it's the Canon M50 or something like that. And I just got this cool little lapel mic. I'm thinking about getting like one of those Zoom mics, overhead mics. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to let you know what I used. I know I kind of rambled a little bit here, but if you'd like for me to share this type of stuff in my future videos, you know, leave a comment. Let me know if this kind of thing interests you. Because I've gotten a lot of questions over the years. It's like, hey, that was a cool video, cool lesson or whatever, but what are you using for this or that or that? So I figured I'd cover a lot of that in this video at the end here. I probably won't go as in depth, you know, as I'm doing right now, because like what I'm talking about now has nothing to do with the title of this video, but I probably won't go as in depth, but I'll at least tell you like what amp I'm using, because I do use different amp simulators and stuff like that. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. I'm going to play the full mix of this song that you heard in the beginning right now after I do the Keep It Metal, which we're going to do that now. Guys, until the next video, keep it metal.